Hey, Eric.
Hey, Jen. How's it going tonight?
It is going well. It is going well tonight.
I still think we need some kind of intro music.
Well, if we were professionals, we might. 148 episodes. Okay, so tell you what. So if we get to 256,
I can have an intro music.
you could do whatever the heck you want.
All right, 256. I'm writing it down.
That's a long ways from here.
It's less than halfway.
I guess that's true. It's all good. That's all good. So, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of feeling like fall weather here in Oregon.
It is. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, which is nice because the deck is almost done. There's just a few little pieces left.
Oof.
Like few finishing touches. And the pavers, I'm now 3 days into them cutting pavers, which makes it tough to concentrate at work.
Right outside your window.
It's right out my office window.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice. It's almost done.
Huh. They must have like some concrete saw or something like that.
They have two of them.
Oh.
But yes, they're not messing around apparently. So.
Okay then.
Yeah.
Okay then. Well, let the professionals do their job.
That's right.
That's cool.
You do anything exciting this weekend?
It is ironic, but we redid our kitchen approximately, and I say approximately because it was right before Thanksgiving, 5 years ago. And for this intervening 4 years and 11 months, we have needed to paint our dining room because parts of the kitchen remodel kind of intruded into the dining room. And evidently, and not evidently, because we've talked, my wife and I have talked over the years of we really should just paint this room. We really should. It won't take us like that long. And so on Saturday, evidently 4 years and 10 months later, I girded myself, found the old can of paint, because I didn't even have to go to the store to get paint. This is how bad it is. But
no Lowe's trip, huh?
Well, actually, it turned out that I did, of course. But but that's later in the story. No, but because I have paintbrushes, I have the tray liners, I have rollers, I have roller I don't know, whatever you call those right. Padded things that you put on the roller that you actually put the paint up with. I had everything.
Drop cloth?
I had drop cloths. I had, I had everything. It literally was just all I needed was motivation. So Saturday I did it. I got off my butt. It's not like I spend all my time not doing anything, but this was not high on my list, but it was, right. Anyway, it had eventually reached the top. And so I spent all day, mostly. No, that's not true. I spent half the day, because it didn't even take all day, painting. And the reason, so I did have to go and get a second can of paint. But the previous dining room had been yellow, like yellow walls. And evidently yellow's kind of hard to paint over. Yellow kind of, because we're going to like the technical color is biscuit. But it's an off-white, like super light kind of tan-ish color. Right. Very neutral walls as opposed to yellow. So, I mean, previously our dining room was boom, yellow. And anyway, and not only did I paint it, I took down 2 wall sconces and that was the other thing that we did when we went and got paint is we went and got 2 wall sconces from Lowe's. And I replaced them, and I replaced, my wife ordered new curtains, and then, when the old yellow curtains came down and new kind of, gray/red curtains went up. So yeah, in one day, less than a day, we have a brand new dining room, painted, new wall sconces that match the rest of the house, and new curtains, and it looks great. But it did take 2.5 coats, I'll say. really. I'm going to say that because I think I had one of, my boys both helped me paint. And, yeah, I did a final coat myself after the quote unquote second coat had dried. But anyway, it looks great. It looks good. The wall sconces are not exactly at the same height, which it might drive me insane, but we'll have to see. I think I can take them down, and I think I've got about like 2 millimeters more space on that I can raise up a little bit. But like, if the holes in the wall are not level, I can only fix that so much without like exposing the holes in the wall. So I'm, maybe I know the other ones that were on there were maybe less obvious that they were not level. But who does that? Never mind. It's okay. Serenity at some point in my life, but no, I have a whole new. That was my big thing for Saturday, and then I'll tell you one of the things we did on Sunday, but I'll do that in my something fun. Okay. So how about you? What'd you do this weekend?
So my my boy and I told you we didn't get to hike Mount St. Helens because of the fires. We're still thinking about trying to do that in November if the weather holds out, but. In the last week, I don't remember if I even mentioned it last week on the podcast. We had talked about we were going to go hike something else. And so we went and found a hike called the Elk Mountain hike. And it was appealing because you could get up to almost 2,800 feet. It's on the Coast Range. So, it's not a super high mountain, but it's up there. You can see through the distance, but you start at 900 feet, and according to the website, 1.5 miles, you get up to 2,800 feet. So almost 2,000 feet of elevation gain.
That's a lot.
In 1.5 miles. So
that's steep.
My boy and I were doing, we were doing trigonometry, angle, right angle, how far, distance, how many elevation per feet, how many on average and stuff like that. That was our conversation on the way down, but it was not 1.5 miles. It was more like, according to my Apple Watch, it was 2 miles. So the first thing, we got up, going, and it was steep. It was hard. I think it was harder than hiking Mount St. Helens.
Oh, really?
Just because of how steep it was. And we got up a mile at 1.6, a little over, almost 1.7 miles in, and we still weren't to the top. And the trail marker at the bottom tells you it's 1.4 miles from this point. And by that point, we were 1.7 miles.
Wow.
So we're like, so we were about ready to say, well, we're close enough. We're tired. We're close enough. We ate lunch and we were going to turn and head down. But just so happened another couple had come up, and we talking to them, they said, oh yeah, it's just, another 10 minutes you'll be at the top. Because this is kind of like a false summit. So we were kind of at the false summit.
Okay.
But it was all trees and wooded, so you couldn't tell. He said, you just got to go down a little bit, then it's one last steep push up, and then you're at the top. So we did that. We got to the very top, and I'm going to say it was worth it because that's what I'm supposed to say. But we will never hike that one again.
Oh.
Because it was tough going up, but down was even worse just because it was kind of gravel and dirt, and it was so steep, you slipped most of the way down. And my poor boy only had tennis shoes. So he didn't have the right hiking shoes to actually do it. And it was cool when we got down to the bottom and, patted ourselves on the back and said, yay us, we conquered a mountain. We beat the mountain. The mountain did not beat us. Then we went to Tillamook to get ice cream because that, is towards the coast. So
you're already halfway there.
Yeah, we were close enough. But that was my weekend, and then we just kind of came home and went to sleep early. That was a tough hike.
So did you have a good view from the top?
Yeah, actually, it was Saturday that we went, and it was relatively clear. I mean, it was a little hazy. I want to say, you couldn't see crisply out to the coast, but you could see, I have pictures, all the various mountain ranges up to the Coast Range, and looking back towards, you couldn't really see back towards the east because there were all the trees were still in it. I mean, it's not a high enough peak where there wasn't any vegetation. There were still trees and stuff, so you couldn't see 360. But it was fun.
Have you ever hiked the Saddle Mountain?
That was the one we initially intended to hike, but it is currently closed.
Oh, it is?
According to the website, it is closed due to COVID, so they can't keep the campsite open. So the trailhead, the Saddle Mountain trailhead, you have to drive like 7 miles off the main road to get up to the trailhead. It's closed down at is that Highway 6? Is that what it is?
It's on... No, I think it's on 26.
26? Wherever the turnoff is from the main road to get there, it's closed there. So the website says you can park there and hike 7 miles to the trailhead and then hike the trail. And we were like, no.
Yeah.
Let's do the 3.5 mile hike that's straight up.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think maybe the 7 mile hike might have been easier.
Well, Saddle Mountain's a hard hike. I mean, I don't remember the statistics. I think it was longer than 3 miles, though.
Yeah, it says it's 5 miles round trip. I was just looking really quick, and it's relative similar elevation gain. But I had heard that it was, it's a moderate hike, but relatively easy and a little bit more family friendly. This Elk Mountain was not. There were people with dogs on the trail, and several people were carrying their dogs. Smaller dogs. So it was.
That's
it was a once in a lifetime experience.
It's a nice way of saying that. I'm glad I did that. I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like Saddle Mountain is at least half a mile longer each way, if not almost a mile longer each way, I guess. And a little bit less elevation gain. So, wow, that must have been steep. Because Saddle Mountain I was maybe in a little bit better shape than I am at the moment, but it kind of kicked my butt when I last did that. So,
yeah, it was great to get out, be in nature, kind of hanging out with my boy. It was a lot of fun. We had great conversation. It was quality family time. Well, quality father-son time, I should say.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And you want to make me you make me want to go for a hike.
I know a place not to go.
All right. Well, Oh, speaking of, sorry, before we get into the actual topics, I failed my commitment to you. I did not smoke something this past week, and so I failed. Sorry. I cannot report
clarify,
success.
You did not smoke meat in your smoker.
Oh, sorry. Correct. I also didn't smoke anything else, but no, I did not smoke any meat in my smoker this weekend, which I had said, why have I not done this? I should have done this. I haven't done this all summer. I'm going to do it this weekend. And nope.
You painted though.
Fate had other plans. Yep. I painted, and then we actually wound up going out, holy moly, to a restaurant. So,
with indoor seating?
We did. Yes, I know COVID, but, yep. We went to the Olive Garden. So, it was tasty.
Cool.
Yeah. I know lots of people don't like the Olive Garden. I don't think you can go wrong with like cheese, marinara, some form of meat, and some form of pasta. Like, I'm pretty much on it's kind of like Taco Bell. You could do a lot with those ingredients.
Well, I generally am not a fan of Olive Garden, but they had one dish that I did like that they eventually took off the menu. But apparently, if you ask for it, they still have all the ingredients to make it. It's just not on the menu. So every time...
Oh.
I haven't been for a long time, but when I would go, I would ask for that. Well, yeah, I think we can... And the waiter will go back and come back later and say, oh, yeah, the chef says he can make it. Apparently, the chefs all apparently like making it. Oh. It's just not officially on the menu anymore.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm not sure that would be the case anymore because they seem to have a pretty restricted menu these days. I'm sure with the whole COVID and supplies and everything else. But I will like one funny
Yeah.
thing, because I'm looking at least with half an eye towards the calories in whatever it is I'm about to, eat.
Right.
And my son, the 16-year-old, was like, what did they call it? It was like fried stuffed tortellonis or something like that. I mean, it was basically cheese inside pasta, like fried with like cheese with Alfredo and cheese on top of that. And like it was I want to say 2,000 calories.
A cheese bomb.
It was totally a cheese bomb. Yes. So and I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, I tried one of them, to which I was like, oh my gosh, that might be the best thing I've ever tasted in my life. But, I think I would have to go out of there on a stretcher if I ate the whole thing. But anyway, that was I thought pretty amusing. That's okay. Anyway. All right. Well, how about some follow-up?
All right, so I threw one thing in follow-up. It's kind of a topic, but we've mentioned this a number of times before on Node.js packages. If you use any of these frameworks or platforms that come with, packaging systems, the ease of being able just to go npm install and it'll pick up all your dependencies for you.
Yep.
This was just another report on some Node.js malware caught by using typosquatting. And I know we've talked about typosquatting before.
Yep.
Where, they've created a package that the name is not Electron, it's Electrom, just changing one letter so it looks like the right thing. And apparently these packages, there were only 4 of them in this latest report that had just a little over 400 downloads, and it's not exactly clear what they were doing, because it seemed to be they were just, when you use the package, it would then publish information in base64 encoded back to GitHub as a comment in GitHub, which seemed odd. So no, the report doesn't say exactly what the purpose was, but more of just an indication that, hey, typosquatting type attacks are happening out in the wild, especially in the open source ecosystem where it's easy for you to change dependencies and move dependencies, and some unsuspecting person who installs yours doesn't know that it's going to install 50 other things, one of which may have been typosquatted. So just a reminder, pay attention to what the packages you're using when you import all your packages. I say, as I installed an npm package, some AWS Amplify command line is in Node.js this week. I think it installed 1,000 additional packages.
Oh, all right. Well,
and
you totally have me beat.
Through them. Anyways, that was my follow-up.
Yeah. This 3-line hello world only requires 250,000 lines of code. In
Exactly.
dependencies. No, I have to say I have just in the last couple days, I've just run to the command line and gone, pip3 install whatever a couple of different times for a couple different packages. And on one of those, I totally got the package not found. And I was like, what? How could there not be a package not found? And I went back and looked at what I was supposed to do. I'm like, no, it's got to be that. And I looked back and I had done something similar. I had I transposed an N and an M, or I had one character wrong. And had there been a typosquatted package of that particular typo, it would happily have installed.
Right up. Yeah.
Happily. And I would have been none the wiser, because if it had successfully installed, I wouldn't have thought twice about going back and, import whatever it was.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good one. And I wrote a blog post about this a bazillion years ago. I think it's on Dark Reading. But I don't know. That was a long time ago. But we don't have a solution even today. Let's see. I also had one piece of follow-up, which was related to the Zerologon vulnerability. And it is that Samba is also vulnerable to the same issue, which really highlights the fact that it's a protocol vulnerability, not a implementation vulnerability.
Right. I didn't think of that. But right. Yep. Yeah.
So Samba is the non-Windows version that implements the SMB protocol. And, so they, depending on what services you're running, you may be vulnerable as well. So I pulled out a couple quotes though. In fact, here it actually has the quote that said, "Since the bug is a protocol level flaw and Samba implements the protocol," in my head, I'm putting correctly, Samba is also vulnerable. But they do say, however, since version 4.8, which was released in March 2018, the default behavior of Samba has been to insist on a secure net logon channel, which is a sufficient fix against the known exploits. This default is equivalent to having server s-channel equals yes in smb.conf. And let's see, quote, "Therefore, versions 4.8 and above are not vulnerable unless they have the smb.conf lines server s-channel equals no or server s-channel equals auto." So basically, out of the box, if you're using version 4.8 or later, you are not vulnerable because by default I said that wrong. If you are using the defaults with version 4.8 or later, you're okay. But it's possible that you or somebody may have gone in and turned on the vulnerability basically by saying that you will allow insecure connections.
Right.
And I didn't actually pull it into here, but there was, I think, a comment in the link about the fact that some third-party plugins don't support the s-channel equals yes. And if that's the case, you might have gone in and turned something off. So, it's another example of keeping up to date, but it's also a good example of, depending on the level that the vulnerability is at, if something really, you don't see protocol vulnerabilities that often, I would say. But if it is, and you have multiple people or, entities that have implemented the protocol, quote unquote, correctly, you can have a pretty, an attack you can use in multiple places. So anyway, that's the follow up to this. We'll put a link to the samba.org, CVE in the show notes. So you can check it out if you want.
Cool.
I have to say, I should go look at what version of SMB is running on my QNAP. I don't know that, but I should go look. Because I am... I'm not sure I've turned on SMB.
I know I don't have it on because I don't have Windows machines in my house.
Yeah, I did, though. I don't have one running at the moment, but... Now I'm going to have to... I have some homework. I have to go look and see if
don't
that's
put it
on
off like you're smoking.
Yeah. I commit to you. Oh, wait. Don't commit. Don't commit. Commitment ties you down. Anyway, that's a joke. Okay. Well, how about a topic?
My topic, I have two, but the first one is really something fun, but it's a security related topic. If it's security related, you can use it as a topic. I'm using it as a topic.
I think so.
I remember listening to a Planet Money podcast about, with the whole re-energized space race. They are now sending up satellites that are tiny, that are like smaller than your laptop. And they call them nano satellites. And satellites keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And Planet Money sent one up to space, and they did a whole episode on it. And I remember thinking that would be cool. I want to say I probably even did that as something fun at some point, but I couldn't find it.
I remember searching. As something fun that was not. I don't remember if it was yours or mine, but was about CubeSats and putting advertising in space.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
And the complaints about the inability to do sort of amateur astronomy from the ground when there's going to be thousands and thousands of tracks across the sky. But anyway, right. So those I remember discussing that, but more the less fun aspects,
right?
As opposed to, can John get high speed internet access, and is he willing to burn the entire amateur astronomy around the world in order to get it? Which, to be honest, no, I wouldn't make that trade off. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry, you were talking about satellites.
Anyways, but yeah, so I remember doing that, and just this is a total Homer topic for me though. But McAfee has published a blog post on securing Space 4.0.
Yes.
One small step or a giant leap, and it's a two-parter. And this is actually a really well done blog post, two-part blog post. If you're interested in space and what the security implications are in space, you should totally read this. And yes, hashtag I am McAfee, but it was really good. And it's Space 4.0. And for those who want to kind of get how we get to Space 4.0, think of Space 1.0 was the early study of astronomy. And then Space 2.0 came about when, and these definitions are coming from
European Space Agency?
European Space Agency, I think. So Space 1.0 was just early study of astronomy. And the Space 2.0, you can consider spacefaring nations, engaged in the space race that led to the Apollo moon landings. And then the third era, Space 3.0, was kind of this conception of the International Space Station and, the understanding of space as the next frontier for cooperation and exploitation. And Space 4.0 is now all the, the public aspect, up until now, pretty much it's been governments have been the only ones with the financial resources to put satellites in space and get to the moon and those kind of things. So there's your Space 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. But the first part of the blog post kind of talks a little bit mostly about the basic history and background, and kind of gives you the foundation for what securing Space 4.0 would mean. Mm-hmm. And then part 2 of the blog post. So I'm not editing, so I don't know how you want to link the parts 1 and 2 in there, but
thanks, I'll figure it out.
The two blog posts. Part 2 is where it gets down to explaining the kind of software that's used in these commercial off-the-shelf. They refer to them as CubeSats or nanosats. And that software is mostly based off of open source software that exists already. Linux, there's some Windows OS versions, and there's ground control, open source ground control and mission control software that are help operating these. And the idea is, if you're trying to now develop these platforms and frameworks, I think I'm going to divert my brain again. Even, you can go to AWS and they have ground control as a service, and Azure has, satellite link. I mean, the big cloud providers are getting, you can pay NASA or SpaceX some amount of money and send up a 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter cube up into space and control it through software. But the blog post, at least part 2, then kind of delves into the, reviewing the CubeOS, the frameworks and software that is managing these, and the things that you can use those for, file transfers, remote communication, uplink, downlink, inter-satellite communication, cameras, telemetry sensors, software updates. Those are very similar to the things that happen today on Earth that get hacked all day long. And the second half of the part 2 talks about Space 4.0 threat modeling and kind of gives a highlight. I mean, it's a very long article, but very well done. Again,
Tip to Owen and Christian.
Exactly. That, here's how you have to threat model this. Here's how cyber criminals might exploit this platform for monetization. It's all about, as we see with ransomware, it's all about the data. So I didn't really have a whole lot more to say about that beyond go read if you're curious about space and what security and how security and cybersecurity would relate to the next, the next evolution of space and what goes on in space, which is going on right now, frankly, in space.
Yeah.
Go read parts 1 and 2. It's very well done.
That's cool. Yeah, it's hard to believe there's an open source satellite control system, CubeOS, and it's, what is it? Cloud-based mission control software, Major Tom.
Of course.
That's awesome.
What else would it be named?
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So that's my first article. I really think you should go check out. It's something fun, but it's security related. And the second one is, again, as we're moving into, at least in the U.S., election season, the FBI put out a video, basically, and a blog post, essentially explaining about election crimes and security. And when someone has committed a federal crime, they don't refer to any state crimes, because states have and local have election laws are different from federal, but they give a list of what is a federal crime and what is not. And it's just I think it's just a good thing to review, because you're going to see a lot of stuff if you're on social media at all, you're going to see a whole lot of misinformation, intentional or unintentional, incorrect information going into the election on what is being done, isn't being done, who's doing what. So I would recommend reading this, reviewing this scams and safety article on election crime and security from the FBI. And it's actually, the video is a joint message from the FBI, the NSA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, and the National Counterintelligence and Security Center. So it's pretty good. And that's really all I want to say about that.
Very cool. Well, yeah. Go vote. Everyone vote.
Yes.
If you're in the United States. I mean, if you're in whatever other country you're in, you should vote in your own elections. Absolutely. Yeah. But if you're in the United States, vote.
Participate in your democracy.
Yeah, that is a good thing. That is a good thing. All right. I only brought one topic tonight, which is like a record for me. I feel like I've had two topics every time for a while. But I have a question for you. Did you know that IAM is hard?
Sorry. I need to punch something.
Is it too raw? Is it too soon?
Oh man. I was dealing with that earlier today, so yes, IAM is very hard.
I'm sorry.
Hard to do right, hard to do well, hard to make usable.
Yes, on all three. Absolutely. So, IAM, if you're not familiar with it, is Identity and Access Management, and it's basically the service that lets you kind of prove who you are and lets you gives you, if you get a token or something, it gives you an attestation for what roles you should have. So, this is the service that if you can spoof it or, somehow hack it, you can, get somebody else's credentials or get elevation of privilege so that you have more rights than you should, etc. So the topic I chose was Google Project Zero blog post that is specifically about HashiCorp Vault service, which is it's a cloud-based IAM broker service that helps with I should probably have read what they call themselves, but at least what I think of it as is a privileged account management, which is a fancy way of saying how do you how do you have a little bit more control over service and admin credentials so that they're not, given out all over the place, and so that you can understand how and when they're being used? So, for example, if you have a service that you want to be able to do something not interactive, you need some way for that service, that tooling, that program, to get a token, a key of some sort that will allow it to act unauthenticated. Obviously, if you have a human there, then, there's other things that a human can do. A human can plug in a card, a human can type in a password, but for, sort of service to service interaction, they can't. So you have to have some other way to prove who you are. And, a naive thing, or maybe the most basic thing, is to hard code a credential somewhere. But, that has a multitude of problems. But what these sorts of services do is they let you essentially check out a credential for a certain amount of time, and then you can log and you can see, this service is doing this thing. This service has these rights. You can control what the permission scope is, and you can log it, and you can track usage, and you can roll those credentials centrally on a regular cadence, and you don't have to go, oh gosh, where was this? Where in the environment has this token been saved? And who's using this token? This token should have been revoked a long time ago, and we're gonna revoke it, but that's gonna break something somewhere, and who's gonna scream, and all these sorts of things. But going back to the beginning, IAM's hard. So this is the blog post goes through two essentially elevation of privilege. Well, two vulnerabilities in HashiCorp, or in Vault, one for AWS and one for GCP, Google Cloud. So the first one, and I'm not going to go through all the details in this, but because there's quite a few, and it's kind of hard to talk through some of the examples in audio. Honestly, it reading it though does require maybe reading it a couple of times too. But the first one's kind of tricky in that, and I'm kind of jumping to the conclusion here, but evidently Vault is written in Go. I guess. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that, but it says the function. So this is the Vault uses the Golang standard XML library to decode an XML response. So if you know that, so you know how something's going to be decoded, and then here's the thing: there's an easy to miss problem with this code. Vault never enforces or verifies that the STS response is actually XML encoded. And it says, while the STS responses are XML encoded by default, it also supports JSON encoding for clients that say and accept application JSON. And then in the Go XML decoder, if you pass it a string that doesn't start with an XML root tag, it will silently ignore everything before the expected root tag and then parse it as XML. So if you can control the response inside the token, so essentially what they're doing here is they're telling the Vault server, I want you to send me back the token in JSON, not XML. And then they go and they create their own identity provider, sign another token that inside that other signed token has an XML blob that is the XML that they want to essentially use as their role. Then the bug in the XML decoder of Go will skip past all of the JSON that's being returned as a quote unquote valid, here's your valid token. And it will happily decode the XML that was attacker controlled.
Nice.
Kind of tricky and kind of fancy. And
that's one of those bugs that I think if were fixed would break a lot of people who prepend garbage stuff, or since they know that, it's going to ignore anything until the first root tag anyways, I'll just put a comment or a note or
exactly
something. Good times.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, one of the kind of precepts of good secure coding is really understanding the situations that the code will be subject to. And in order to make that really human tractable, that means making it as small as possible, like really reducing the surface to the extent possible, which is impossible and, to a perfect degree. But, in this particular situation, I would call the root defect is the XML parser happily ignoring non-XML, right. That should return an error. But I'm sure that some well-meaning person at some point in time was like, well, let's just read until we get an open tag, and that'll be easier. It'll be a better user experience, better developer experience. So yeah,
I'm sure there's a reason for it.
Yeah. So essentially, so there is another link in the article. There's a link to a proof of concept exploit that does it, but this is been fixed by Vault. So the Google Cloud Engine half of this wasn't terribly different. The issue here wound up being that it's possible for one of the paths. There's two paths in Google Cloud, IAM path and a GCE auth path. But the quote here is, the issue is that no check enforces a token signed by an arbitrary service account doesn't contain compute engine claims. So basically, and it said there's another thing in here that says basically if it's a GCE metadata token, then it's trustworthy, controlled by Google. But the service account, so the IAM tokens, are controlled by the owner of the service and can contain arbitrary claims. So if you can if you have an arbitrary claim and you have control over that, then you could put a claim in there for compute engine and basically have an escalation of privilege. So the three steps in this one are you do have to. In both of these cases, you pretty much need, I guess you don't necessarily need I don't think you need oh gosh, I shouldn't speak without turn. I think you actually did need an AWS account in the previous one, a separate AWS account that you could use to create a signature that the IAM would, decode properly. But in this case, you generate a private key using gcloud, but then sign JWT with a fake engine claim. And then the critical thing there is, did I pull that out? There's three things that you have to have in your token that basically says that has to match, the login metadata. Where is it? Okay, so the project ID, zone, and instance name have to be set. But if those are the only things that are validated, so if you set those to the the values you want, you can then also add the compute engine claim. So so you sign the JWT with the fake compute engine claim, but that describes an existing VM, and then you can use that token to sign into Vault, which gives you an actual token that because it has a valid compute engine claim, it'll give you a time, it will release a token to you that you can then turn around and use, which is kind of it's almost more lateral movement than privilege escalation. But I don't know. Privilege, you didn't have the compute right before. So anyway, there was a final comment in here that I pulled out that I thought was great, which was that Says, I'm going to read this in entirety, but modern cloud IAM solutions are powerful and often more secure than comparable on-premise solutions, but they come with their own security pitfalls and a high implementation complexity. No doubt. Sorry, that was my commentary. As more and more companies move to the big cloud providers, familiarity with these technology stacks will become a key skill for security engineers and researchers, and it is safe to assume there will be a lot of similar issues in the next few years. Yes, I would say it is safe to assume. Although this is an issue in a implementation of a service. The vast majority of issues that I see that, you see disclosed all the time are configuration issues at the, at the account level. S3 buckets left open, world writable, etc. But anyway, that was my topic for the week. I thought that was a great article.
Nice.
So, all right. How about something fun?
All right. My something fun is also science-y related.
Okay.
Do you remember, I think it was last year, Venice flooded. They had record high water and it flooded most of this. I mean, most of the city was underwater, and the residents of Venice have been living with having their city basically flooded with a foot plus of water for years and years and years. And it's just part of living there because, the city of Venice is sinking and climate change and sea levels rising, et cetera, all the good stuff that you would expect of that. Well, in 1984, so this has been around for a long time.
Wow.
Venice kicked off this concept, this idea, which they named the Italian word for Moses, a way to stop the floods. And there are these huge seawalls, barriers that can be raised when the sea levels look like they're going to exceed flood levels. And this project has been, since it's been going on since 1984, has been rife with corruption and delays and cost overruns, etc. Because essentially it's a huge dam that can be raised and lowered because you don't want to cut off full sea access to the city. I mean, the whole city needs the sea traffic. So these things are underwater on the seafloor and they can rise to form. Anyways, for the first time ever, when a flood was coming, they used them and they used them successfully. The water level rose to, it shows 132 centimeters outside. It's MOSE is, I don't remember the exact Italian definition, but it is referred to as Moses. Outside, it was at 132 centimeters of flood stage, but it remained at 70 centimeters inside the lagoon where this was happening. And
wow,
I think it's kind of cool that they've had this project using, essentially a bunch of dams to basically hold back the floodwaters. And apparently it's not complete. It's still not due to be fully complete and fully operational until December 2021. But they have been using it to raise the barriers they have against the tide to, limit the flooding, especially as increasing. So anyways, that was my number one something fun.
No, I had not seen this, and that is super, super cool. in the works since 1984. How is that? Wow.
Yeah. I think I saw years ago a Discovery Channel thing on building all this and some background on it. And so it's just, I thought it was cool. I saw this pop across my Twitter feed this week showing that they actually, for the first time, raised it for a first test and it succeeded. And it seems like now people are going to be happy with the, I'm sure, billions of dollars that this has cost. If they can stave off basically not having to evacuate the city of Venice. Anyways, So that was my first one. And then my second one, I'd have you click the link and then I'd giggle to myself. But if you haven't seen this, I just think...
Okay. What am I supposed to do? Click.
So the YouTube link, I just thought it was funny. There's a punk rock remake of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You. It's kind of fun to listen to.
Hold on. I clicked it. You're Rick-rolling me is what you're saying.
Sort of. But, because if you click on it, you'll have to watch the YouTube ad, and then it'll jump in to the punk rock version of Never Gonna Give You Up. So, there you go. A short something fun.
That's funny. Okay, I won't watch the whole thing while you watch me watch the whole thing, but that's pretty funny.
All right, those are my something funs.
Okay. So, I've got, well, depending on how you count.
I did see this one that you said
I've
your
got
first
multiple.
one on the Twinkies.
So that's my first one. It's just a Twitter thread, and it's about Twinkies. I found a box of Hostess Twinkies from 2012 in my basement, and then if you look, he said he actually ate part of one of them, which I'm not sure that I would be brave enough to do, but at least one of the other ones in there, a couple of the other ones in there are like growing something. so basically, Twinkies, the joke is they last forever. No, not exactly. And then there's one that is like something bad has happened to this Twinkie, and it looks all shriveled up and wrinkled and like, as if something has like sucked all the vacuum, or it's like vacuum sealed in. So something in there has taken all the oxygen. Right. Looks totally nasty. And then the end of this thread was he's basically sending this to a fungi scientist. So he's sending it to Casson WVU, which I assume is like West Virginia University. Associate professor of forest pathology, mycologist. Anyway, so that was the reason why I thought that was kind of related, funny. I went ahead and threw it in here, even though it's a little gross. Is my boys and I watched Die Hard for the first time on Sunday. So I know it's not Christmas yet. I know Die Hard is a Christmas movie, but we watched Die Hard. What?
That's a great thing about some Christmas movies. You can watch them year round. It's
true. Actually, that's one of the things that my older boy said was, Die Hard, it's not Christmas. But anyway, that was funny. So that was my first. So that's kind of fun. My real something fun is the Nobel Prizes are being announced this week. So there are 3, to the best of my knowledge, out as of this moment. So the first is the medicine, a Nobel Prize in medicine, which went to 3 men, Harvey J. Alter, Michael Houghton, and Charles Rice, for the discovery of the hepatitis C virus. So that's cool. That's not my area of interest, let's say, but awesome. The second one, and this is the one that really caught my eye, and is, let's see, I'm going to read the quote. With 1/2 to Roger Penrose, quote, for the discovery that black hole formation is a robust prediction of the general theory of relativity, and the other half jointly to Reinhard Genzel and where's her name? Andrea Ghez. I'm probably mispronouncing their names. Quote, for the discovery of a supermassive compact object at the center of our galaxy. So basically, these people discovered the black hole at the center of the Milky Way.
Super cool.
Or, excuse me, not maybe the black hole, this supermassive compact object.
Which we can't see.
Cannot see it, but so that's cool. So they get the 2020 Nobel Prize in Physics. I thought it was interesting too how they were like half to this guy and the other half jointly. So they basically, how much of a Nobel Prize did you get? I got a quarter. Or
yeah,
I presume they get the whole like metal, and it's the money that they're splitting or something. Who knows? Not me. But then the second one is in chemistry. And here's a quote: "The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences has decided to award the Nobel Prize in Chemistry to Emmanuel Charpentier, looking for the other name, and Jennifer A. Doudna, for the development of a method for genome editing," which is basically the CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing splicing technique.
Oh, didn't we talk about CRISPR at some point?
We did. I even looked up the episode.
Oh, there's your note.
It was in episode 102, so evidently 46 episodes ago. We talked about the first genetic treatment for sickle cell anemia, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But if you're clicking on my YouTube video that I put in there,
I remember the video now.
I'll be honest. I was like, I searched for acapella. I searched for CRISPR in our RSS feed, and I didn't see this. But once I looked up the video, and I was like, well, I'm going to link to this video. How could I not have linked to the video before? I looked at the GUID for the video, or the token for the video, and I found that in the RSS feed. So I know we linked it before. But the final link I will put in here, though, is to the same video. If you didn't watch it before, go watch it now, which is to a guy who I should probably remember his name, but I don't have the link up. But the channel name is Acapella Science, and he did a video about CRISPR-Cas9, which I think is fantastic and tremendous. And it's got like 3 million views on YouTube, which I guess is not as much as many things, but it's pretty darn good for a science music video, I would think. And it's awesome. It's awesome.
Cool.
So check it out. That's my something fun.
Nice.
And the other prizes, I guess it looked like I saw a brief mention of a schedule. It looks like they're basically announcing one a day. Oh, but yeah, that's not in medicine. It's in chemistry, I guess. It seemed weird to me that was a chemistry thing, not a biology or medicine.
Yeah. Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I have
no fear of ever winning a Nobel Prize. So, okay. If you say it's chemistry, I'm down with that.
Well, so by that logic of reduction, anything qualifies as physics, is what I say.
That is a fair point.
What is chemistry if physics, not physics? Yeah. So, anyway.
Very cool.
All right.
That was fun.
Hey, sorry. I'm gonna as we close here. I'm gonna put a plea out to anybody listening to this. We don't have reviews much to speak of out on like the iTunes podcasts or the Play Store. Go if you like this, go out and give us a review, please. It'll help us. That's all. Thanks.
Yes, we should probably find a link and make it easy to go.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I will find a link, and I will put a link in the bottom of this. And maybe I should make a point of doing that at the bottom of all of these. But all right, my friend. Shall we call it?
Yep. Have a good night, John.
Talk to you later, Eric. Bye.
All right. Bye.